Hi everybody, and welcome to 1U Digital Training Series. This session is going to be about getting buy-in, how your organization joins the digital conversation. And if you are on Twitter, you can tweet using the hashtag 1UDigital, and I am at NEKARO. My name is Nicole. I'm the Director of Digital Strategies here at the AFL-CIO. And I'm pretty excited to be here with you kicking off this training series. The AFL-CIO, with all of our affiliates, state feds, CLCs, and locals, has one of the biggest online and social media programs. We've done a great job getting started, but digital work changes fast, and it's important to keep updated on our training and best practices so our work stays at the cutting edge. In order for us to continually stay competitive and relevant in the online space, we need to constantly learn the most up-to-date online strategies and best practices. There's something for everyone in the beginner class. New skills, new ideas, and even new ways to talk about this work so that you can train others if you've been doing this for a while. And we're calling this #1UDigital because #1U is the hashtag for any union conversations on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter yet, that's totally okay. Make sure to take our Twitter 101 class that's coming up. There is already a conversation happening online about unions, and we want every member of the labor movement to be a part of it so that we can have a unified labor movement and really be getting our message and our stories out there. So the objective today is to understand a little bit more about how to integrate digital organizing into your work, and especially about how to persuade others of its importance and measuring its impact. So we're going to talk a little bit about why we should invest in digital, how to integrate digital into the work that you're already doing. So digital should not ever be seen as a replacement for your current program. It should be seen as something that can amplify and enhance what you're already doing. So we're going to use that to talk a little bit about how to persuade others of the importance of digital work and about how to measure impact, because ultimately at the end of the day, the impact that you're having is going to be the best reason that you have to get folks to buy into your program. So let's start out talking about why we should invest in digital. Digital organizing has been at the forefront of some of the most exciting political and social change movements in the last few years, both internationally and in the United States. Activists in Mexico last year successfully used YouTube and Twitter to get the Mexican presidential debates televised and continue to hold massive public protests throughout the country. In Egypt, the Arab Spring and the overthrow of the oppressive government was organized through blogs, Twitter, and Facebook. Occupy was able to gain traction around the world through social media, telling the story of its demands from when it started with We Are the 99% Tumblr to when it was brutally broken up. And in Wisconsin, activists around the state kept in touch, kept the pressure on, and spread the word about Capitol occupations against Governor Scott Walker. We've only just begun to tap what's possible in online organizing around labor, though, and we can be a real leader in this space. So, digital's not going anywhere. The internet is pretty much here to stay. And so these are some statistics of internet usage around the world on various social media sites and using various digital products. So, we've got 2 million blog posts are written, 864,000 hours of video are uploaded, and that doesn't count the number of hours that are actually being watched. So if you had to guess, how long you think that these stats represent, you might think it's a month or a week, but actually this represents just one day on the internet. These are for just 24 hours on the internet for everyone in the world. So sometimes I hear people talk about digital work as just for young people or only in certain areas, but that's just not true anymore. People all around the world from all walks of life are integrating digital into their work, and they're doing it a lot. These numbers are also just continuing to grow. And as an example, in 2008, about 33% of online adults used social networking sites like Facebook. In 2012, that number shot up to 69%. That means that 60% of all US adults now use some sort of social networking site. And of that group, 66% have taken part in political activity online. So there's 12 million union members in the US, so we represent a lot of workers and people. But even if the entire labor movement was on Twitter, we're still only 9% of people on Facebook. If Facebook were a union, it would be almost 10 times as big as every single union member in the US. When we engage with folks via online organizing, we're working to build the union movement stronger and bigger, and we're opening ourselves up to new audiences and new potential members. People also want to connect online. So as an example, 43% of users decided to learn more about political and social issues because of something they've read about on a social networking site, actually specifically on Facebook. 18% actually took action because of something that they saw. So that means 18% of people who see a good social post on a friend's Facebook wall actually decided to take action because of some of it. And these numbers are actually just from people seeing things on Facebook. It doesn't even count people who are deciding to take action from receiving email action alerts, for example. These numbers are also just continuing to grow. So think about your organizing work. One of the other things that online organizing lets you do is actually build to scale. So think about your organizing work that starts with just one person, you. In traditional, on-the-ground organizing, you can talk to one person, and then you talk to another person, and eventually you talk to some more people, and you build your team. And over time, they talk to a couple more people, and you get a couple more members. And that's your team. You might lose a few members and gain a few members, but you can only really interact and have one-on-ones and know so many people. You only have so much time and so many contacts. But online, things are a little bit different. Here's a great example. During Hurricane Sandy, the New Jersey AFL-CIO set up a Tumblr. A Tumblr is just a mobile-friendly site. It's generally for blogs. It's nothing fancy. We got it up within hours. And we put on there all of the information that we could get our hands on, including things like where to get gas, how to get unemployment assistance, and even a reminder to vote since it was during GOTV. With just a little bit of money for some promotion on Facebook and other places, we were able to get 2 million impressions in just a couple of days. It wasn't a big budget, and it was not even that well designed, but it was straightforward, it had the information people needed, and it was timely. We would never have been able to reach that many people in such a short time, especially during GOTV, face-to-face. And it probably would have been impossible given the circumstances in New Jersey. And just 2 weeks ago, Kevin Eitzman at the New York State Fed engaged in an awesome campaign to fight HR 1406, which was fighting to end the 40-hour work week and comp time legislation that would make it possible for workers not to get paid overtime when they worked extra. So they set up a petition on their website, put a graphic up on Facebook, and sent an email out and a text message out. They had been working to build those lists over the last couple months. And what happened? They got over 500,000 views on their Facebook graphic, and 6,000 people shared it, and that's only the ones that we could track, so we know that it got out even wider. The State Fed was able to add 1,400 new emails to their email list. From the text message, they were able to generate 150 new SMS numbers, 600 calls to Congress, 500 of those were from the text message. They even generated 4,000 faxes to state reps through their petition. The hosting company for their website called concerned at the spike in traffic and added extra bandwidth to their site so it wouldn't crash. And this all happened just in a matter of days. Online work, the new technology also changes how we tell our story and lets that build to scale because that has changed. So let's say that you see a video that you like about the work union members are doing to rebuild the World Trade Centers. These are our building trades members. You think it's pretty awesome, so you share it on your Facebook page. Some of your Facebook friends leave some comments on the video and they decide to share it on their Facebook walls. One of their friends thinks it's awesome, so they share it on Twitter. It gets retweeted by a couple of their followers, including a reporter from a popular blog that a lot of reporters, wonks, and staffers read. The folks who read it on Daily Kos email it to their friends, post it on their Tumblrs, show the video to some friends at dinner that night. One of the folks who got that email is an intern at MSNBC. So they pass it on to their producer. The producer likes it so much that they decide to bring President Trumka on the show that night to talk about it. Based on that appearance, President Trumka's quote gets picked up by other national print and TV ads. Now, I'm not saying that this happens every time we have an awesome video, but this is how media that we put out on the internet works now. And when all of our online organizing is working together, it is actually possible for something like this to happen. And this scenario is what happened with fights like Occupy and the Wisconsin recalls. Online allows us to have a two-way conversation with people, not only for us to push a message out, but also for them to push back and ask questions and keep talking to us. It's way beyond just being about moving a message. Online organizing allows us to empower and train organizers to lead in their own communities. As we expand our online presence, we're opening up a conversation not only with the people we're talking to directly, but with the people they're talking to and those people who are talking to and so on. So one fun way to integrate digital into your work is to use cats and GIFs. People on the internet really, really love cats. And GIFs, a GIF is just a little video that repeats for a couple seconds like this, and it's just a fun thing to put into a presentation to lighten it up a little bit. But I know that people trying to figure out how to integrate digital sometimes feel a little bit like this cat. It's trying to figure out how to put the pieces of a puzzle together around how to integrate existing work with new digital work. So just to be really clear, Online work, digital strategies, is not a replacement for traditional organizing. Talking face-to-face will always win. Connecting with a human who can look you in the eye and see how sincere you are is always better. There's only so much that you can do to build a personal relationship from behind a computer. Digital work is not trying to substitute or get rid of that work. And once you think about it that way, you can see a lot of ways that digital work can plug into your existing field or political or policy or organizing work. So as an example, these are some things that you might already be doing. If you're running a campaign and you are distributing worksite flyers, you can use your worksite flyers to build a text message list just by adding something that says, text this word, for the AFL-CIO, it would be text work to AFL-CIO. And so people who see that worksite flyer might text in to get onto your text message list. And then you can use that text message list to drive meeting turnout if you've got a meeting coming up. You can also, make sure that people who didn't get to that meeting get the information that they needed with posts on Facebook. You can use this to drive up attendance at rallies. And if you want to get a lot of media coverage at your rallies, make sure that you've got folks who are live tweeting them, because the media is going to pick up on Twitter. And so even if the media can't send a reporter directly there, that gets you additional coverage. Also is a really great way to welcome new members when you're doing membership drives. It is a way to be able to quickly communicate with them. But this isn't for people who want instant gratification. Online engagement takes work and investment. And just like it takes a sustained commitment to develop relationships on the ground, it takes time to invest with your audience online. In fact, it might take more sometimes because it's harder to create connections from behind your computer. But once you create those relationships, your ability to create an audience at scale changes and makes all the work worthwhile. So the best digital work is consistent and constant because the internet is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a beast that needs to be fed all the time, but at least it does some of the work for you once you invest in it. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how to talk about digital, because sometimes that can be tough. People don't know much about it. They might be starting at the beginning. They don't take it seriously. They might even be a little bit afraid. But I spend a lot of time talking to people who have never done digital before, and so I'm going to share with you some stuff that I've learned so that you can get results to get the time, resources, and space you need to do your work. So when you talk about digital with leaders, you can always stress that it's cheap and cost effective. All of us are in budget crunches right now, and digital lets you slash your budget a little bit while still maximizing impact. It's a tool to help you do that. As an added bonus, digital organizing can also be a powerful fundraising tool. If you've heard that the Obama campaign in 2012 was able to raise hundreds of millions of dollars online, clearly, it's a great tool for political work. But we've also had success here at the AFL doing things like raising money for strike fund donations for locked out workers at the Bakers Union and striking workers who are organizing at Palermo's in Wisconsin. Your leaders probably also understand rapid response and press and the need for creating great press. Through Twitter, you can do things like reach out directly to local and national reporters by their Twitter handles and have conversations directly with them. And you can put out statements and do quick actions when it matters, like our example earlier with Hurricane Sandy. When you're talking about it with both your peers and labor leaders, you want to make sure to build relationships in your organization that can help support your work. That might be with a young worker who's always posting great things on Facebook to ask them to help post even more on your Facebook page so it stays regularly updated. But it also might be with people who are making decisions about budget and want to find new ways to publicize your upcoming meetings to members. You also want to make sure to find allies. If you're the only person in your organization who understands why digital work is important, it's going to be tough to make the kind of impact that you want. Because again, digital work needs to be integrated with other programs. So see if you can find even one other person who knows that digital is important, or convince them and get them on board to help push whoever needs a little extra persuasion. Once you get the go-ahead, be sure to share your information and insights. If you start posting regularly on Twitter and you find that your Twitter following is going up by 100% and your engagement rate is higher than ever, make sure to tell people about it. It'll help them understand the impact of your work, and it'll give you ammunition when you are ready to expand your online presence. And anecdotal evidence is great too. If you send out an email about your meeting and you get X number of RSVPs and then people tell you they came because you sent the email, make sure that your leaders know that. One other thing is that one of the best things about digital work is that you can test everything and you can fail a bunch, and that is okay. If you have a Facebook post and it doesn't go viral, there's absolutely no problem with that. It is a step in building up your program. So don't be afraid to try. It's a great way to start out small, see what works with very little risk, and move ahead knowing that you're making effective decisions. That can also help allay the fears of any people in your organization who might be a little wary of online work. One other thing that I hear a lot is that people sometimes are afraid of losing their message. And so, the reality is that if you aren't online, other people are. So I know that some leaders are afraid of losing control of their message, but the reality is if you don't have an online presence, you've already lost control of your message. These days, Google is the very first thing that people do to get information. If you don't have a presence or content online to push your message for a search engine like Google to send people to, and somebody else does, then you have negative press because you don't have any way to actually put something you don't have any positive press to counteract it. And this has been an example, there's many examples of this happening within the labor movement, but also, within the political sphere and also, in the commercial sphere. So this is true across the board. Just because you are not online does not mean anybody else is not online. And so if there's a right-wing group that is attacking your organization and they are pushing out propaganda, then that is the only message out there. So the question right now isn't about how do you control your message. The question is how do you make sure that your message is out there because there's going to be other messages that are going to be competing with you. So one of the most important ways to get buy-in is to actually be able to show your impact. And again, this is one of the best things about digital work. Just about everything that happens online is measurable. So you want to think through your goals for whatever the campaign is that you're working on or whatever your program is, and think through some questions that actually measure impact. So how many people are starting conversations with you? How many actions are being taken? How much growth are you experiencing? If you're not growing, it might be because people aren't able to find you online to see you, or maybe the content, you need to change the strategy for what content you're pushing out. You want to figure out if you have an education site, how much time are people spending on your site? If they're just going and bouncing off really quickly, it might be hard for them to navigate. So you want to make sure that you're getting people the information that they need to take action, to engage with you, and to share that information with others so that you're growing as an organization. Don't fall into the trap of vanity metrics. Vanity metrics are numbers that sound impressive and flashy, but they don't actually advance your goal. The goal of online organizing is the same as the goals of offline organizing, to get results. When you're setting the strategy for your campaign, think about what you want to accomplish and measure the success of your online program against those goals. There's no right number of Facebook likes or email addresses. What matters is whether or not you're building support, driving supporters up the ladder of engagement, or achieving other goals like getting earned media. When you're talking to people in your organization about integrating digital work, being able to point to the value that an online program adds in making progress to your goal is key. It doesn't matter how many Facebook likes you have. What matters is what you do with them. All of this said, if you build it, they will not necessarily come. It's not the field of dreams. You can't just put something out on the internet and hope that it goes viral. Unfortunately, there is actually not a viral button. There are millions of websites on the internet, so you're going to have to work hard to make sure that you get eyes on yours. Again, your work online and on the ground aren't that different. If you made signs, booked a location, and got speakers, but didn't do any turnout to get people to a rally, the rally is probably not going to be a success. You have to turn people out to your online presence as well. So you can do that by asking them to join your text list at events, or putting your Twitter handle up in your office hall and reminding them to follow it. So if you're going to put all the work in to make it happen, you want to make sure that people can see it. It's important to keep in mind while you're doing this work that each of us actually have really different needs and different audiences and different priorities. So every tool is going to be different and work differently for us. And it's okay to do just one thing to try it out and see how it works. In fact, it's encouraged. So for example, if your members are primarily men, maybe Pinterest isn't the tool for you. The audience is primarily women. I'm a former AFT member, and all of my former coworkers, all of the teachers, they are all on Pinterest. So if I was going to work on an organizing campaign with them, I would probably check out Pinterest as a way to get the message out. If you're working with seniors, Tumblr might not be the best medium to organize in. But seniors are actually one of the most rapidly growing demographics on Facebook, so putting time and energy into making your Facebook page the best it can be might make sense. So once you do well at just one thing, you can explore other options, but know who you're trying to move and how to talk to them. As you start out, don't get discouraged. It can be a little overwhelming, but just be ready to take it one step at a time and keep the people that you're trying to engage at the front. And it's important to be honest with yourself about the kind of results that you're getting, especially if they're not good, because that'll give you information to help pivot and change and grow your program in some other way. So when things aren't working, don't be afraid to come up with a new idea, experiment and test to see how they go, and then let that information chart your course forward. It's okay if it doesn't work the first or second time. You'll get better as you go. In fact, sometimes big fails are exactly the way to figure out what could work. So the takeaways for all this is that digital is big. It's only going to continue to grow. More and more people are online every day, and they are on sites, and they all have email addresses, and they have Facebook, and they are exploring the sort of vastness that is the internet. So you want to have your information there so that people can access you. You also don't have to be afraid to start small and then test it. If you start a Twitter account and you realize that it's just not, none of your members are on Twitter, you're in an area where there's not a lot of media, maybe you're in a rural area, organizing other folks, Twitter might not be the way to go. So measure the things that do add value to your program and then point to them to measure your impact. And again, keep in mind, if you're not there, other people are. So make sure to share your message as widely as possible. Thanks so much.